love the sport. We here now.
If you on that hit squad, then hit hard. Bogart and take charge. If you got accuracy to beat the QB, then let me see you throw it deep.
Gather around, school brothers and sisters. This is Under the Lights, brought to you by Minnesota Sports Talk and Purple and Gold for Days. And we don't need just one Dave in the house.
No.
We decided it needed to go extra Dave today. Everybody say hi. All right, let's go. We got Dave in the house. Thanks for showing up. This is actually part 2 because we've been talking to ourselves for 10 minutes because Dave forgot to hit the freaking live button.
I'm like,
and it's been a while. It's been about a year since I've done that. This is probably the 4th time in my life that I've done it, but it's been about a year. So, yeah. And of course, Justin is loving it. He's been ear to ear ever since I did it. But hey, Dave, welcome to the house. Like I said before, I'm going to make you officially a friend of the program, even though this is your first time. Thanks for showing up, man.
Yeah, usually it takes 3, but Grandpa Dave gets to skip the line and get right to it.
Yeah,
Let's get these shot. We'll go through these fast here because I know we got a lot of people in the comments. We shouted you out for real the first time. You guys just didn't hear it. Single greatest Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, YouTube handle of all time. My worthless opinion is in the building because your opinion is never worthless. Certainly not on this show. I want to mock Bob. What's going on, Bob? How you doing? Nick is in the house. How are you? Norsefius, got it right behind me. Thank you again, brother. Appreciate you joining us. Gary's in the building as well. What's going on, Gary? We have a house call from the doctor. Dr. Proto's in the house as well. Thank you kindly, as always, for joining us as well. Purple Gang, Skull Mafia in the building. What's going on, Skull Mafia? How many days left, Mafia? You got the counter. You keep counting them down, brother. Keep putting them in there for us. We got the digits, 098043. What is going on? Thank you so much for joining us as well. Raymond is in the building. What's going on, Raymond? Yes, worthless. We got the double Dave. I don't know how in the world I'm going to handle this.
This is a Justin sandwich now. Look at this.
No, it's a Dave sandwich. Dave.
This way.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Al, what's going on? Good to see you. He's breaking news on Under the Lights. Al is reporting that JJ contract will be signed tomorrow at 9 a.m. I would take that. I would take that.
Stay up all night and do videos.
Yeah,
in preparation.
Absolutely. I think.
Now make sure you Hulk smash that like button and ring the bell. All right.
Got to get the Taco Bell on Taco Tuesday. I get it. I see what you did there. Real quick before we get the scoop in the background on our guest, Dave. Dave, you've spoken to her directly. Could you just quickly give a small update on Chicken Soup for the Soul, Queen, matriarch, and Grandma Mary? Give us the scoop on that, if you would, please.
Mary is home from the hospital. Her blood work is stable. She was working on getting a specialist appointment today. They went through all the stuff. They eliminated a whole bunch of stuff that had her worried, which is good. Hopefully she'll improve and be with us every night. Now, I do know that she watched the shows past couple days. She appreciates the thoughts and prayers. She's really needed them, and it lifted her spirits. And amen to the community for that. I thank you. She greatly appreciated it, and it was a good thing to do.
Absolutely. She texted me this afternoon after lunch and said, I've been a little nervous being alone, but listening to you guys and seeing the chat light up like a Christmas tree with all of the well wish speaker. Hey,
there she is.
Oh, there she is.
Where you?
Me and Justin were fighting over the button.
You must have rabbit ears, Mary. Welcome, Mary. Good to see you. Hope you are doing well. I'm glad to see you here.
We appreciate you, Mary. Like Justin says, you're chicken soup for the soul.
Mm-hmm.
Couple quick shouts before we get to the questionnaire. Hart, what's up, T-Bass? Good to see you. Appreciate you joining us as always. I think there was one more that I missed in here. I can't miss nobody. Got to shout everybody out. Yes, Philip. There you are. Philip is in the house. Thank you so much. And he asked the question, what's Dave drinking tonight? What's on the itinerary for the drinks, my friend?
Tonight it's Woodford's Reserve Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 90.4 proof. It's very nice. It's a lovely bottle, and it's a good go-to, and it was turned on to me by one of our viewers, no less. He said I needed to try it, so I got one, and it is good. Very, very good.
Mine is
bourbon.
purified swamp water from Florida, H2O. There we go.
All right, host Dave. The original question that we only let him get a third of the way through before we realized we weren't on. Fire away, brother.
Yeah. So, hey, I was asking Dave here where he started, where it all came from, that, he kept this online presence, and where did it become? Because I really don't know your story, and I'd appreciate, and hopefully listeners appreciate it too, because I know you're not one to really talk about yourself all the time. So I want to know. So shoot, man, I want to hear it.
Started back in 1994 in Grand Forks, North Dakota, when the internet was new, and there was things called chat boards, and I would go on and talk Minnesota Vikings. I was a fan, watched them every week, loved the team, grew up with that being my team. My first game was in 1969 at the old Met against the Bears. So I sat there and I wrote on chat boards for quite a few years. And then I migrated from chat boards to I started my own website called Luft's Locker Room. Now, you ask, where does Luft come from? Luft is back in the early days of being on the web. Everybody talked with aliases. You didn't use your regular name. So I chose mine. I took a Norse name, Luftkrieger, which means air warrior. I was in the Air Force. Air Warrior made sense, and I've kept it ever since. I started Luft's Locker Room as my first webpage, where I consolidated Minnesota news, gave my opinion, had a good time doing that, had a chili meter, fire or not, at one point in time. My biggest success is when I scooped the Jared Allen trade, and I beat Mike Florio by 15 minutes, posting it to the web.
Suck it, Florio.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I should say suck it, Mike. Mike and I have talked many times before, but that was it. And that was cool. I also wrote for the Sporting News for quite a while. And then Christopher Gates asked me to come over and write for the Daily Norseman. And so I wrote for the Daily Norseman for quite a few years. Got busy in life doing the normal stuff, but I never got too far away. Sometimes I'd put out, 8 stories a week or whatever, and others it would be, once every few weeks. It depended how busy I was. When it took a job, went overseas, Kuwait, Iraq, Afghanistan for about 5 years. The stuff was sporadic, came back, got back into it. Then we started in about 2017. We did our first set of podcasts, and it was on a Vikings Facebook page site, Valhalla, and did that, and then busted off from that and formed Good Morning Gallahorn, and did it with the Gallahorn Group with Ted and Drew. Drew was my original partner. Ted joined shortly afterwards, and Ted and I have known each other since Scott Air Force Base when we were stationed together. Ted and I are very, very good friends. So we had
him on our show, I think.
Yes, he was one of our. I think he was the second or third guy we ever had on. Yeah.
And then from there, in 2018, I had the bright idea: let's take this to video. And so,
because you guys got the faces for it, right? Yeah.
3 old guys with beards, yes, except for Ted. Ted doesn't ever wear a beard. But so we took it to video, and that went on for a long time. We got approached by Climbing the Pocket. Climbing the Pocket wanted us to join them. We were the only one that was annexed in, and we'd get paid. SB Nation over at Daily Norseman said, "Hey, we want to pay you for podcasts." We said, "Okay," and we joined. Well, that all lasted until early this spring, when SB Nation fired over 90% of their podcast arms across all sports. And there was no rhyme or reason. The biggest podcast arm in the NFL, and the NFL by far is the moneymaker, was the Pittsburgh Steelers arm. Steel Curtain Network is what they're known as now. They fired them. We were the Vikings one. Us were the only ones fired in the NFC North at the time. So we needed to find a new home. So what happened was we formed a group. I got contacted early with a bunch of the Steelers guys to create a website, and it's sponsored by a very good benefactor, to create a group called Fans First Sports Network. We have our writing site up, but we started as podcasts. The whole idea is to get podcasts by fans for the fans and get that up and running. Tyler Fornes and myself, along with Darren Campbell, are the founders of Vikings First and Skol, is what we named it. And we brought it over and we started doing our shows. We have since brought on the man in the middle there, Justin Day, to be part of that because we love his talent and the way he communicates with everybody. And we now have a writing side where we have a stable of about 10 writers that write over on Fans First Sports Network, as well on the Minnesota Vikings feed where you find us. And they're doing great. And we're growing this day by day. We just went over 1,000 subs here less than a month ago, and now we're closing in on, I think it's 1,100 here in the next couple days. So we appreciate everybody being here. And as I've told Justin before, the best part of doing this isn't that I bloviate about the Minnesota Vikings all the time. The best part is the people, what I call Vikings land, the people that partake in either on the bloviating side, the talking head side, or the ones that are watching, the great fans that come in here and give us grief or give us kudos or band together to wish Mary, get well soon, or whatever it is. It's the whole community that means the most to me. I'm not in this for the money. I'm in this to mentor people to succeed. And that's what I want. And I want the team to succeed, and I want our community to succeed. And that's what I've been doing for over 2 decades.
I've actually learned a new word put in my arsenal, and I'm going to use it like every once in a while. I'll say, Justin, would you stop bloviating?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna unleash that on a regular basis now. Dave, that's pure gold. I'm gonna tuck that one away. But no, man, that's a great story, and man, that's growth.
I don't tell it that often.
You were back when it was like when
Al Gore invented the internet.
Yes,
around then, right?
You helped start the internet. Basically,
right.
I don't know what I was doing. I was like, I didn't even have a computer back in '94. So.
T-Bass is like, you're old if you were doing that stuff back in '94. I'm like,
I am old, T-Bass.
God, I loved it when I said, you got mail.
Yes. Let's get some shout outs to some new arrivals. Our brother Rap from Purple Pocket Podcast. What's going on, man? Thanks for stopping by. Dan is in the building. What's going on? Howard, good to see you. The Bucks stop here. You are correct. They will be stopped, but we'll get to that a little bit later as well. Tony Two-Tone is in the building. What's going on, Tony? Good to see you as well. Holden is here. What's going on? And I think we might have an infiltrator, gentlemen. I hope y'all ready for the Bucks defense, says Jacko bluntly. Yeah, we'll be ready, Jack.
He's been on my shows.
Has he? All right. Yeah. Good for him. Good for him. We don't mind.
He's a reasonable Bucks fan, but he thinks Vita Vea is going to tear us up.
Well, we'll see about that. We'll talk a little bit about it. But thanks, in all seriousness, Jacko, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. If y'all could hit them like buttons, wipe your feet at the door, hit the like buttons. And if you could hit them on both channels, that would be great as well. And if you don't subscribe to Vikings First and Skol, as Dave said, they have absolutely blown it out of the water. You guys just started what, late February, early March?
Early March.
They've already cracked the infamous 1,000 subscribers. But if y'all don't subscribe to them, I've mentioned it on my shows and here on this to go check those guys out. You are one of the godfathers of Vikings YouTube content creation, my good sir. So
I actually joined your chat last Tuesday, and you had like 80 people viewing you at one time. So we're kind of hoping we get there this year.
Uh-huh. Well, you will. Oh, I don't doubt that in the slightest.
We're getting there. With Justin's star power, we're gonna get there.
Yeah. How many watch it? What's up, DG Prods? We all got plenty of watch hours. We all got plenty. We're good. We're good there. Yogi's in the building. What's going on, Yogi? How you doing? We are just 4 days away from Skull Fest. Let's get that announcement out of the way here real quick. This Saturday night, 5 to 9 p.m. at the Northeast Palace in Minneapolis, the inaugural Skull Fest. What is Skull Fest? Like Oktoberfest. It is a celebration of Skull, a celebration of the Minnesota Vikings. It is the night before week 1 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Myself, Dave from Minnesota Sports Talk, Rap, Casey and Jamie from GG Sports, Yogi from Purple Rain 247, and SK, along with a cast of thousands. There'll be a couple of other content creators making some stops by as well. We're just going to be sitting in the restaurant bar area, drinking beer or whatever type of liqueur you would like to drink, talking Vikings. We're going to do a live in-house show for about an hour of that time. If you are in the area of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, come on down and meet us. If you are going to show up, we are giving away prizes. And the grand prize is a pair of tickets to the week 1 game against the Buccaneers. And if you go to Eventbrite and just type in Skullfest with the city of Minneapolis, there is no cover charge. It's not like you got to pay $20 to get in the door. But we're asking you to register if you're going to come on by so that we have a head count for the owner. And again, that gets you one drawing into the grand prize of a pair of tickets. Did I leave anything out there, host Dave?
I actually might charge Too Evil to Hope to get in. I don't know if he is. No, I'm kidding. Is he? He's not in here yet. He didn't hear that.
I was about to say he always shows up about 30 seconds after you say
after I say something.
Yes,
you say his name 3 times and he appears just like Beetlejuice.
Let's get this one up from here real quick. It's been a pleasure to have known Dane since 2016. Wonderful friend. Absolutely. Will Vita eat Bradbury's lunch? Well, you want to start with that one matchup, or do you want to save the matchup for the end, host Dave? What do you think?
No, I mean, let's talk about it. Let's have our guest tell us about Vita Vea. I imagine he's in tune much more than I am. You always seem to have like a stat or something on your channel, so I would love to hear what you think of Vita Vea and what the matchup against our interior offensive line.
I'm praying our interior offensive line does.
So we're going with prayers, fellas and ladies.
No, I do believe that we should see improvement from our interior offensive line this year, right? They're great run blockers. Can't discount that. We put out a story over at Fans First today that mentioned that Ezra Cleveland was the 8th ranked guard in the NFL. And I go, per PFF. And I go,
I seen his top 10 as an offensive line by CBS, which is great.
I went over and looked that up, and that's what it was. But that's because he was 3rd or 4th on run blocking, but his pass blocking sucks, as well as Ed Ingram's and Garrett Bradbury. Now, Garrett Bradbury took a step forward last season. That was great to see. Finally, I think part of that scheme, hopefully part of that's development. I'm hoping this season, all 3 of them, due to the continuity, because there is a thing about that does work. I played offensive line growing up. You want to be able to know just senses, your 6th sense, where the guys next to you are and what you're doing. Hopefully, they've improved enough, and this will be well schemed enough, which I have no doubt that it won't, that they will handle that interior pressure. I fear what we normally know, that Garrett Bradbury will be picked up, forklifted, and plopped in Kirk Cousins' lap. But hopefully that doesn't happen.
Well, it's funny. I almost jumped in and I was going to wait till you finish, but Gary beat me to it with your phrase, the big round bellies. He says they prevail Sunday. But the only concern that I have all season for the offense is the interior of the offensive line. And I get your point about continuity. At this point, it looks like they're going to roll with what they got, for good or for ill, because Doogie on Score North today during his scoop session said that there's basically 0 steam on Dalton Reisner right now. So I think that we can officially take him off life support, and for good or for worse, they're going to roll with what they got. So I hope you're right. I hope that the idea of the continuity, second year in the system for the entire offense, the whole shebang, because you've got so much star power everywhere else. You've got a top at least 10, and we don't need to argue whether it's 10 or 8 or 5 or whatever, a quarterback in Kirk Cousins. You've got the best wide receiver in the league. You got a top 5 at worst tight end in the league, and you've got a rookie phenom. And oh, by the way, a KJ Osborne in the last year of his contract. So that is literally the only weak point of the offense right now.
It is.
Hopefully you're right.
You had Ezra's taken a step every year he's played so far. He's gotten better. Obviously, Bradbury got better last season. We're going into the second season with Ed Ingram. Ed Ingram has the talent. He has the strength. He has the ability. He tends to overreact. If he can get that in control, and that comes through coaching, if they can get that, this line will be a lot better than what we watched last year. I'm hoping for about half the pressures. And if they can knock down half the pressures, they'll be a decent offensive line.
And to your point, just bringing it up here, like here, Ezra Cleveland, for instance, with PFF, run blocking grade 4th, and that's out of 74 guards, 56 in pass block, and somehow it averages out to a 73 as a overall offensive grade, putting him at 8th. So just to add to what you were saying, so yeah, PFF has them like that too. So yeah, we're definitely deficient in the pass blocking with our interior line, but obviously we got 2 bookend tackles that know what's up. There was a good interview with O'Neal before the season last year, and he was talking about Ezra, about how Ezra went from a left tackle to a right guard. And now he's playing the left side again. And it's like, trying to left-handed or right-handed. Mm-hmm. And now he's playing his more natural left side. Well, now this is the second year of him playing that same position. So I give a lot of kudos to that. My hopes, and this is his last, this is a make it or break it year for him.
This is a contract year for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that's the case. Now, what do you think of our backup? Like, I think Brandel showed out the first game of preseason. Then they moved him to the right side. And it's funny because he said he was a better right guard, but he was better on the right side. But when he went and played right guard, it was like Schlottman tried to tackle him on every play, and they just didn't have any cohesion there. But at left guard, the first game next Vidarian Lowe, he was playing really well. What do you think of him maybe potentially taking over for Ed Ingram, or at least being a good backup in this situation?
Well, I think he's the best backup we have of the backup offensive linemen.
I like this guy over here. I like that guy over on the left side.
He can play tackle as well. He's the ultimate swing guy for guard or tackle, either side. And
crazy.
So I hope we keep him, and I hope he may take that next step next year. If Ezra goes off and gets paid, and Ezra will get paid, people are going, oh no, he's a horrible because he can't pass block. Ezra, you saw those PFF grades. Mm-hmm. They go into what other teams look at, and other teams' offensive line coaches and offensive side coaches are going to go, no, I could use that. He's going to get paid probably in the 10 to 14 million a year range next year. I know that's shocking, isn't it? But that's what's going to happen, and we're going to need a replacement. And if that's Brandel, come on down, baby. Come on down.
Next man up.
If not, who else? And hopefully the whole line stays healthy all year.
Here's Garrett Bradbury, who actually probably played his best year, right?
Yes, last year was his best.
And we were actually many times on a lot of our shows, we're talking about how often were we expecting to think, hey, we miss Garrett Bradbury when he was out. And, offensive grades, these are starter, these are starter grades, 9th and run blocking out of 36 centers, 25th and pass blocking. Again, that's below average, right? So, all signs really point, we should be able to run the ball, but we were one of the lowest last year. I kind of attributed that to always having to come from behind in the fourth quarter and passing the whole down, or the whole fourth quarter. I kind of attested to that. Plus, we were one of the lowest teams at running like traps or counters and things like that. So we weren't as creative. How did you feel about our run game picking up this season, even though we lost Dalvin Cook?
I think it will, because I think we're going to be more efficient at it. Add Oliver in on the end to help with blocking as well. I think because we lost Dalvin. Dalvin was the strikeout, home run guy. Now we're going to get the singles and doubles from Madison and company. I expect Ty Chandler to do some great and wonderful things in relief. And we're going to be more efficient, opening up the playbook. And instead of being 2nd and 11 or 3rd down and 12 yards to go, and everybody knowing we've got to pass, it's going to be 2nd and 5, 3rd and 2. And then what are we doing? How is the defense going to play that? Hey, they know we're going to pass a lot. I don't know if it's going to be the 60%, 40% split. I sort of hope it is, because that's our strength. But it's going to be a lot. And if we start taking, I've preached all this preseason, I think this offense can score 30 points a game. That should be their goal. 30 points a game. If they can score 30 points a game, there is no, hey, we got to come from behind on all these games, so let's drop back and throw. At that point, if you're up by 2 scores with 5 minutes left or whatever, it's hand the ball, hand the ball, hand the ball, hand the ball. And the offensive linemen are like, hey, buddy, I'm going to kill somebody. We're run blocking, right? And Alexander Madison or Chandler or the new kid, Gaskins, can have a field day.
Right.
But it all comes down to how efficiently we produce points. We've got to get past that, first drive that always looks fantastic, and then going into that sleep mode where we go 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Get rid of that and constantly score every drive you have, or the majority of them. You're not going to have to worry about tons of pass blocking, because the offensive line, one, will be doing it in more efficient downs, right? Where the defense has to guess what they've got to do versus pin their ears back. And 2, you'll get in the later quarter, 4th quarter, and they're just going to be run blocking. And there's nothing more than an offensive line loves to do than run block, because they are the aggressor at that point.
And at that point, the defense is theoretically a little worn down, which just makes their job even easier. Let me get to some shouts. We've had a few new ones come in since the last time we shouted out. I think I already did, Howard, but Howard, if I didn't already, I think it's the first time I've seen you. So thanks again for joining. We appreciate you. Philip had a question, burning question. Will the defense be improved over 31st? We certainly hope so, but we'll touch on that in later. DG Prods, I answered your questions, but I didn't shout you out. So DG Prods 19, thanks again for joining us. Winner, David Ditter is in the building. I'm not between 2 stands. I'm only next to 1 stand, but I digress. Thanks as always, Ditter, for joining us. It is a pleasure seeing here. Eric from New Mexico. Shout out to Eric in New Mexico, and Lorinda, his lovely wife. Davey Change is in the building. What's going on, Change? Thank you kindly, as always, for everything and for joining us. We got Reggie in the building as well. What's up with you, Reggie? Good to see you. I'm putting doctors up there because he refers to him as the pit master, because that is exactly what he is. Sports Heaven, what is going on? Thanks again for joining us. We met you. What night was? I believe that was the live stream you did, which was the second game. I forget. It was so memorable. I don't even remember who we played that night, but I digress. Vikings fan 1, 2, 3. Can't wait for the game. Hope we win. Ain't not much hope, but we gonna win this game, Vikings. Because guess what? We better win this game with the rest of the next 6 games on our schedule. We lose this one, we're in trouble already. But I digress. Thank you kindly, everybody, for joining us as well. Hit those like buttons again. And at the end of the show, no matter which channel you're on right now, if you could go to the other one and hit the like button so it gets pushed out later on, that'd be great. We very much appreciate you. There's a few other things in the chat here, but for now, I'll turn it back over. See, Vikings fan, there we go. 1-0, here we come. This is a new one. RDA Midwest. There we go. It all starts in the trenches. Absolutely. And to your point that you were making a moment ago, guess, Dave, just be efficient. Because in addition to scoring more points, you're letting your defense rest. We can talk all we want about Ed Donishow last year, and that was a very big point. But another point is that what do you expect the defense, which is the weak link of the team, being coached by a defensive coordinator who's 30 years past his prime. You're going out there with
you're talking to two old dudes right here.
You guys are 7 years older than me, for crying out loud. Let's not act like you guys are 20 years my age.
We're still chickens. We're still spring chickens.
Yeah, exactly. But my point is that will allow the defense to be rested. That'll allow the defense to continue to want to be aggressive and be able to be aggressive. Whereas if you're down by 10 points, you can't always be over aggressive because you can end up getting burned on the back end of that. So put all that together. And like you said, 30 points a game should be the bare minimum expectation for this offense. I totally agree. What say you, host Dave?
Well, I say Dr. Proto's got weight. You mean getting rid of everything that didn't work and start using the shit that did? Inconceivable.
You got it, Dr. Proto.
Let's
Inconceivable.
Go. Yes, indeed.
But, geez, it seemed like the defense was resting a lot on their heels the whole game.
Yeah.
So I think that completely changed this year. And even though I initially, actually it was Casey from GG Sports that said, "Hey, Brian Flores is this and that," and I'm like, "Oh yeah, he coached the defense. He just wasn't called the defensive coordinator for the Patriots when they won the Super Bowl." And then I noticed that the second year he had took back over play calling duties, and that Miami defense was dominant his second year as head coach. Why he gave it up again, I don't know, but now that's all he does, defense, and I think he's gonna kill it this year. And you just saw like a taste of it with like Jay Ward strip sacking, in that game, and you're gonna just picture, Harrison Smith doing that, or anybody for that matter. It's gonna be, I think, all day.
I was asked earlier in the week for a hot take, and I think it was on one bar up, I guess, that who's going to be
1 second for a hot take. We need to, you know how you're always in the small box on your shows?
Oh yeah.
We're going to put you here. Hot take by Dave.
The question was, who's going to get the first interception for the Vikings, and who's going to get the first sack for the Vikings this season?
I don't know, Dave. Flores. Tell us.
Harrison, Hitman, Smith, on both counts.
Ooh, on both of them. Okay.
Back.
Yours.
I'm buying a lottery ticket. Sack, right? Puts them back. They go back to pass. He picks. And I'm buying a lottery ticket.
There you
go.
I'm
calling it.
There you go.
Hitman Smith going to be the one that gets the first pick and the first sack.
I like what Davy Jane says. Why 30? Why not 50? Well, 50 would be outstanding, but that's
hard to do. There's not that many.
Yeah. This ain't Madden where you can score 75 points a game, playing on easy mode. But shout out Skull for Life Barber.
There's usually 6 or 7 drives.
Yeah, usually.
I have a new hot take mode on my channel. I just found that out. I just figured that out. So we have a new hot take mode.
Shout out Skull for Life Barber 1975. He says we win 35-14. I would absolutely go
I'll
for
take
that.
It.
Shout out to Jim NFL 7. Notice so many kissing the Lions arses, joining the dang bandwagon. Bet they still go 8-9. I think they're going to be a little bit better than 8-9, but I don't think they're going to win the division, and I don't think they are worth all the hype that they're getting right now. I've said this one the last couple of shows I've done. I'll remind people the 2020 Minnesota Vikings, who started off 1-5, and instead of trading away players on the last year of their deal, no, we're going to push forward because we don't rebuild and we don't take steps back around here, only to finish 7-9. And what were we saying about the Vikings? Well, they finished 6-4 and, just barely missed the playoffs last year. What did we do that next year? We went 8-9. So, Lions, you guys did look good. And I said this to guest Dave on Two Old Bloggers the other night. It's kind of like a golfer. When you're in the final round of the tournament, you're at even par. You're only a couple shots out of the lead. And for the first 9 holes, you shoot 10 over because you cracked under the pressure. But on the back 9, you shoot 8 under. And hey, I finished 8 under on my back 9. Big deal. There was no pressure on you at that point. And I'll say the same thing about the Lions. There was no pressure on you at that point whatsoever. Speaking of Skull for Life, here's the other Skull for Life. Thanks for joining us. I'm late. Hey, that's all right. You made it. That's all that matters. Skull for Life.
Never late, man. You're never late. You're
never
just
late.
You're just there when you mean to be.
Right on time.
A Gandalf.
Here's a question from Nick. Have you guys been watching the Secret Base documentary on the Vikings? I have not, but have either one of you, for example?
Someone told me about that on other show, and apparently it's really good about the Vikings.
And that makes 3 of us. I have not watched it yet. I know
Sorry,
it's
Nick.
good. I'll probably wait till after the season. I'm getting speaking of Ted Glover, he's been telling me, "Oh man, Dave, this episode's going to rip your heart out." Where this episode was
I don't want my heart ripped out.
I know. I was gonna say I don't need that right now. We're still. It's still home selling season. You know?
That's why I'm going to.
Dude, it's. I'm like I have this this great energy about the season. I don't want anything ripped out right now.
Mm-hmm.
The first hangnail the team has, I'm gonna be like, no.
No. First incomplete pass. No, sorry, I won't go there.
No, but for Vikings history, you need to go see Luke Braun in his 7-hour special.
Yes,
and then you need to go see John Boyce. I think his first name's John, and this one, and you will be brought up to speed a lot of what's happened since the team was founded in 1961. And who was their first fan? She happens to be watching tonight, Miss Mary Fisk.
That's outstanding. Shout out Bandito in the building. What's going on, Bandito? Good to see you as well. Davey Chains disagrees with you. He says the first pick will be by Cousins and the first sack will be by Ed Ingram. Let me say this real quick about Ed Ingram.
Yeah, that's rough, man.
That is pretty rough, man. People say I'm a curmudgeon once in a while, but anyway, the only thing I'm going to say about Ed Ingram is this. As guest Dave has pointed out many times, you don't typically draft offensive linemen to start right away, particularly anything outside of the first round. Yeah, yes, you'll get your first round tackles and maybe a first round guard, that sort of thing. Ed Ingram, I think we get so consumed by, well, we just needed you to be better than Drew Samia and Dakota Dozier. Well, he was, just not by all that much. And we get consumed by the fact that he stepped on Kirk Cousins' ankles a few dozen times. I think
not that many, but yes.
Yeah, well,
I think it's 3 at most. I don't think it was more than 3.
But,
I think it was at least 2 or 3. I forget.
But my point is that if Ed Ingram was drafted and was sitting behind a legitimate guy and replaced that guy a year or two after being coached and developed, as guest Dave has pointed out, I think Ed Ingram would be a very serviceable guard. The problem is we put him in there before he was ready, I think.
Well, I've always said offensive linemen usually take at least 3 to 4 years to develop at this level. There is a severe drought of quality offensive linemen coming up through the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it's caused by multiple factors. Back in the heyday of like the Big 8, when you had Nebraska and Oklahoma and Texas and Alabama, and they were pounding the rock and they were running the wishbone and the T and the veer. You had linemen that could absolutely man up. There was a power game, and everybody was brought up that way. Well, football has evolved over the decades, and that's a good thing. Well, it has evolved now to where you've hit, in the later generations, one, that sometimes parents don't want their kids playing because they worry about concussions. 2, kids don't want to play because they want to sit in the house and go think, and play Madden instead. But when they do play, a lot of times it isn't being taught so much at the Pop Warner Pee Wee style level that, somebody's going to identify you're going to be a big kid. I want you to play offensive lineman. That big kid may say, hey, no, I want to play quarterback, or I want to do this, or I want to do that. And you move them around. You want to do that coaching. You want to see where their aptitude is. But then they get into high schools. They don't have that. Not all high schools have 11-on-11 football anymore. A lot of them's gone to 7-man football. So what does 7-man football eliminate? It eliminates a bunch of your offensive linemen. Then they get to college, and college systems are totally different. It's not the power game way back when. It is now the spread and doing this and doing that. So when they hit the NFL, they're not developed.
Right.
There's so few of them that can take that next step immediately. And most literally take 3 to 4 years to develop. And some never make it. Drew Samia, who I thought he would. But
well, yeah, he came out of Oklahoma. I mean, and he was like, oh, how did he fall to the 4th round? Well, we saw.
And it's it takes a while to develop. If you can get a guy who starts and is adequate the first year, you've got a winner, because generally they improve to be even better. If you get somebody, there's so few blue chippers And by blue chippers, I mean this guy's going to be better than average. He's going to be very good his first year, and he's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. There's so few of those that ever come out in the draft. It may be one a decade. I mean,
just
that's how rare it is.
Great transition there. Hall of Famer. Speaking of Hall of Famers, Trent Williams. I always use this as an example. 11 point, and Ed Ingram gave up 11 sacks last year, led all linemen. Ed Ingram started 13 games his rookie year in 2010, gave up 11.5. So, and now he's considered the highest rated lineman amongst his peers, probably because he was in the top 100. I think he was the highest rated lineman there. I think he was like 9th overall or something like that. And you know, everybody thinks this guy's the best lineman, and you know, Christian Darrisaw emulates him. And I think if anybody's going to be that guy next, it's going to be Christian Darrisaw. But just gives you an example. Even the best at it struggle at one point and you made a perfect example of, you know, hey, these guys are playing all these different types of line, and they come to the NFL and they're playing a more power or pro style offense, and none of the spread and zone and all that. That it's tough to transition, and Trent Williams is probably an example of that. But he dominated his second year, his third year, and then on.
And Darrisaw dominated his second year.
Right.
I can't wait to watch him this season.
Yeah, I mean, Darrisaw, to his credit, he was like hurt and didn't have any off-season camp, but he struggled his first game. He was having trouble, and he gradually got better and healthy, and then the following year, boom, took off.
Well, one other iteration to your point about, you know, the high school evolution or de-evolution, as it were, into the college de-evolution, where you're talking about, you know, back in the day where we had all these offensive linemen, is because everybody was running power football. We talk about the running back position being devalued and that running backs are replaceable. The other thing to keep in mind is that we're also talking about quarterbacks who are statues, who are becoming a dying breed. And now what do we always talk about? We need to get a mobile quarterback because that'll help alleviate some of the interior offensive line pressure. So that works hand in hand with that too, is that now in colleges, there aren't very many just drop back passers anymore. They're all guys who scramble, guys who are mobile. And so, yeah, it's no surprise that if a college system and a majority of the colleges are running, you know, spread offenses, well, then they're training their guards to be that way. So it all comes together, so to speak, from that standpoint. But I guess I'll just wrap it by saying this. I'm not ready to kick Ed Ingram to the curb. I think, again, he was put out there before he was ready because the Vikings were desperate and had nothing else better to go with it. So hopefully we'll be able to see that next step. I mean, it is only his second year, for crying out loud. So we'll see. We'll see. Reggie had asked this question a while ago. Put it in the chat if you're going to the game. We know host Dave is going to be at the game after a night of partying at Skullfest. But who else is going to be at the game? Put it in the chat. What's up, Zone? In the Zone podcast. Shout out In the Zone. Good to see you there as well. I love this line from Davey Change, though. Ed Ingram is practicing for Dancing with the Stars.
Actually, that would be a good thing, Davey. They told us when I was growing up playing ball to take dance class.
Ed Ingram has been asked, and I think it was Doogie Wilson, he believes that he is much improved from last year. So hopefully it wasn't the first preseason game wasn't an example of that.
Oh, no, it was not.
This is crazy, Dave. I'm about to tweet. I see Ed Ingram stonewall a guy 2 plays in a row, right? I'm about to tweet. Ed Ingram's playing good. And then as I see the next play where a guy crosses his face, he doesn't block him whatsoever, goes straight to Nick Mullins and gets a big hit on him. I like delete.
Yeah, and he got graded well because he only gave up that one pressure, but that pressure was
well.
ugly.
And then I think KOC went to bat for him and said there was miscommunication on play. But I'm sorry, if your guy's not there to block, or you see a guy crossing your face like that, and there's nobody else to block him. Just do something to him.
At least touch him and let him know you're there. Get him off his angle. And me coaching, I've coached offensive line play to teach guys that you don't need to win a one-on-one mano-a-mano. I'm stronger than you. I'm going to hold you here, and I'm going to, lock you down and push you back and bury you in the ground. Those are nice, mind you. They're wonderful. They're great on film to watch. But you don't need to win that to win the rep. To win the rep, you need to get the defender off his line of attack, his pursuit to the quarterback. And all that takes is taking his motion. A lot of it is, I talked about dance. That helps with coordination. Jiu-jitsu is another one that helps. And you just get them, use their momentum and take them out of the play. Darisaw is a master at it. If you watch Darisaw, a lot of times people say, he doesn't play tackle that well. But watch, he'll ride that defensive end out and around behind Kirk Cousins, and he's out of the play. If you do that, you win the rep. You don't have to pancake him. And trust me, I love pancake blocks. But you don't have to do that. All you got to do is take him out of the play so he can't make the play, and you've won the rep. If Ed Ingram learns to do that, if the evolution of this offensive line, and especially the interior, is just to do that, win the rep, we're going a long way this season.
You make a good point with Darisaw doing what he did, but you mentioned you don't need to pancake a guy. Darisaw was not a pancake specialist in college. He was not known as a finisher, but now I think he is, right? Yeah. Like he's stepped it up, and that's part of his game now.
We need some of that. We need some of that nasty on our offensive line. We need some. Forgive me for saying it, but we need some assholes on that offensive line.
And based on your
mean dudes,
based on your expertise in blocking, I got Dalton Reisner literally on speed dial right now. No, I'm kidding. But anyways, what I noticed about Dalton Reisner is something I learned like last week, and I'm like, now I feel like so smart, is independent hands. Like he will put one hand on a guy, he'll get, ripped, and he brings the other one back, the right one up, and then brings it back. And now he's got two hands back on again. So he doesn't give up both hands right away. And he does that like a master class. And that's why he's such a good pass blocker, and why we need to have him on speed dial just in case, like right after the game is over week 1. That's what I'm thinking. We may have to call him, but hopefully Ed Ingram and Cleveland do their job.
Up.
Yeah.
But Risner's problem is, as good as he is as a pass blocker, he's bad as a run blocker.
Yeah, he's the exact opposite of the guy.
He's the opposite. Take Ezra and then flip the scores. And
one thing I noticed about Reisner, though, with the run blocking, he's getting downfield. The running back, he's looking for someone else to block. And he's like one of those guys that's the first guy down there to pick up the running back. Like he's always trying to find someone to block. But yeah, like you said, he's probably not the greatest run blocker in the world, but his effort, I don't think, is lacking. And that's one of the decent things about it. Like he's mobile. He can get to the next level. He's chasing the play to get another block just in case there's a cutback. So that's what I saw. And it was just this huge video. I just sat there and watched for 30 minutes of him just doing all this, every block he could imagine. So he's maybe not as bad as people might think, but the effort makes him that a little bit better where he can get away with it, I think.
Skull for Life says Hutch was the last of the real nasty O-lines. Hutch is one of those guys you want to use his film for teaching.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely.
I didn't even know what I was looking at back then, so I couldn't even really tell you. But I know Hutchinson was one of the best in the game.
Oh, God, he was awesome.
A Hall of Famer. So
it's I'm going to sidetrack on the Hutch thing real quick. You remember when that thing came out of if you could take any one player in their prime from your team's past, and of course whoever did that decided to pick Dante. I'm just like, okay, we can have the discussion about Kirk versus Dante, but there's a lot of other areas of need that you had other players. Like my first choice was John Randall. My second choice was Randall McDaniel. My third choice was Steve Hutchinson. And somebody was just like, oh, you got to take Hutchinson over Randall.
I would even take Kevin Williams right now.
Well, exactly.
Randall McDaniel was awesome.
But Randall McDaniel was, to me, is in a whole nother level. But
and talk about the oddest stance I have ever seen. Yes. I would have never coached that. Any coach would not coach that. But it worked for him, and they would have said, hey, it works, go for it.
Yeah, I actually got to meet him at a meet and greet this summer. And I said, what's the 30-second story behind that stance? He's like, I can't remember, he said his knee or his ankle once. And when I was recovering, I got down in that stance, and I realized that for some reason I had better leverage standing that way even with my health recovered. So I just went with it for the rest of my career. Digit says Ingram's going to be okay. Progress noted. Ezra concerns me on pass pro, but Oliver, that's the thing. Oliver is kind of their ace in the hole, so to speak. They're hoping that Oliver can close that gap here. Let me get these shout outs here. Mateo's in the building. Circling back to our conversation, back in the day, athletic players were running backs or wide receivers, and now they're quarterbacks, and unathletic quarterbacks are kickers and coaches. Well, there's something to be said for that. Shout out to James Jones in the building. What's going on, James? Sorry, it took me a minute to get your comment up there, but we were like butter. We were on a roll. But in all seriousness, thank you kindly for joining us. We very much appreciate you. Hope to see you again as the season progresses. With all of that, I don't know what teams you're cheering for, not including the Vikings, but I wanted to ask both of you guys, how do we resolve the week 1 conflict after the Vikings game is over when our least 2 favorite teams, the Bears and the Packers, are playing? Which team do we want to lose more? I'll start with you, host. Yes, well, obviously.
Jesus, man. Oh, well, I'm always going to hate the Packers more than the Bears. That's a given. So it's a default play because Packers, everybody else lose too, but Packers got to lose. That's what I'm saying. I want Love to have the worst game of his life. I do. And honestly, I don't think he is. I think he's actually looking pretty good, and I don't like it. And I want him to actually get in the game and completely fold. That's what I want to see.
I want to see a tie.
A 0-0 tie? Yes.
It could be 7-7, whatever. I want to see a tie because Detroit plays Kansas City here in 2 days on Thursday night. They open up the season.
They might not have Kelsey though, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but still,
it shouldn't matter.
They got Patrick Mahomes.
I wish Philly wouldn't have Kelsey.
So Detroit hopefully starts 0-1.
Mm-hmm.
Then we play, hopefully we should defeat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Then we roll into that second game. If they tie, we're first place in the division as of week 1. Wrap it up, put the seal on it.
All right.
Wire
to wire. We're going wire to wire this year.
There you go. Shout out Kofi in the building. What's going on, Kofi? Good to see you. And circling back, hit those like buttons on both the channels if you could. And if you don't already subscribe to Vikings First and Scold, hit up both on the YouTube page as well as your favorite podcast aggregator, because we also have podcast only content. Yes, they do put their live shows on there, but Dave does the daily delivery Monday through Friday.
Vikings Daily Opener.
Daily Open, I beg your pardon. I do some contributions there as well. Some of it is repeats of my shows, and some of it is exclusive content that you cannot get on either one of our YouTube pages. So if you could, please help us out and hit that subscribe button, both on the YouTube pages as well as your favorite podcast aggregator. Skull TYA is in the building. What is going on? Thank you kindly for joining us.
Never late.
Always. You're never late.
Never late, man.
Even if you watched it completely not live, you ain't late because you were in the building at some point. The party might have been over, but hey, all I was going to say about it is this. You're right. I want the Packers to lose more than I want the Bears to lose, but there's a small smidgen part of me that would love to be able to join Packer fans and laugh at the Bears that even without Aaron Rodgers, you still are owned by the Green Bay Packers. There's a small smidgen part of me, but at the end of the day, you're right. We're pulling for the Packers to lose more. I'm not going to say we're pulling for the Bears to lose.
Justin Day loves the Packers. You just heard it here, folks.
Yeah, he's a Packers.
Just even the single kind word towards the green.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm
Speaking
kidding.
of the green and Justin going over Vikings First and Skull podcast feed this morning.
Oh yes, great episode.
The first ever Who Will Be King episode, where myself and a bunch of the hosts from the Bear Claw podcast, Bleachers to Speakers, which is the Lions podcast, and a trash can for the Packers contest, their podcast, we got together and talked. And of course, the Packer guy shows up 30 minutes late, which is typical. We're just harassing him the whole time up until he shows up.
Oh gosh, it was.
And he comes in, and of course he's all upset that we got rid of a top 5 running back. And I'm like, no, And but we had that episode. It debuted this morning. Go check it out. It's funny. I think, out of the four of us, I think the Vikings have the best shot, but we give the kittens their due. Everybody loves them, and they're kissing her up to June. June is the name of the guy that does the Detroit Lions. I said, hey, when was the last time you guys won the division? I get silence, and then I get, what did with Megatron or Barry Sanders? When was that? And I said, no. Last time you guys won the division, we were the NFC Central.
You've never won the NFC North, Detroit. You've never won it.
And I keep bringing this up
episode, Dave. It was
I keep bringing up that JFK has only missed one Lions playoff game.
That's right. That's a great one, Dave.
All righty, we've only got a few minutes left. We've been trying really hard to keep this from 6:30 to 7:30 because Dave's got a show in 24 minutes.
We started late because of me.
And we did start a little bit late as well. So we're gonna go till 8:40 Eastern time. So we'll wrap it up here in the next 3 minutes here.
Well, I just want to talk a couple things. There's a depth chart issue, a couple depth chart things. Like Kreese Tonga is not listed as a starting nose tackle.
I found that interesting.
Harrison Phillips. Let's start with that one. What do you think of that? What do you think that means, really?
Toilet paper. That's as good as that chart's for. It means nothing. They're not going to tell you what they plan. It means absolutely nothing.
Way to put a wet blanket over a segment, Dave.
Tyrus Tonga is going to start.
Yeah. Well, for all the
Phillips is going to be there too, but he's not going to be at the nose tackle spot.
Yeah, no. So, for all the Kwesi haters, apparently Jordan Addison is a bust because he didn't crack the starting lineup at wide receiver. So
three receivers he will. But how about this? Asamoah is listed as the starter, and Ivan Pace Jr. is a backup.
You got to remember, technically, the starter is the guy who's out there the first play. Of the defense or the offense or special teams. That's the starter. True. After that, it can change.
Right. By the letter of the law, 3 deep were all starting wide receivers from day one because oftentimes their first play had 3 wide receivers on the field. So does it matter all that much? No, but I agree with you. I did find that interesting. Now, again, it's unofficial and it's, like you said, toilet paper. That's a great way to put it. I'm going to use that one, actually. So
hey, in the chat, what do you think our first play will be? Will it be a run or a pass? Run or pass?
As long as it's not a backwards pass where Justin Jefferson's throwing to
I'm going tight end screen.
As long as it's not Justin Jefferson passing to Kirk Cousins, I'll be fine with it. Somebody's mom might be in the house. Who's this? Who's this one?
I don't know. Some lady with my last name.
It's some lady.
Hey Fern, see you tomorrow. I'm flying out tomorrow at 7:30. That's my mom, Fern Chelsky. Everybody say hi to Fern.
Hey
Fern.
Chelsky. How are you?
Great name, by the way. Now, KOC's already said he's taken that 4th and 8 3-yard pass out of the playbook. So we don't have to worry about that one.
Okay, that one's gone. The tight end screen
let's get rid of that too.
To Munt is out. Or to whatever tight end.
I don't care who it is,
The
only time a tight end screen should be used is if it's like 3rd and goal from the 1 and you do that rolled out shovel pass. Then I'll take that.
All right,
but other than that, I'm done with it.
So like Nick Mullins comes in the game, and what is the first effing play? Tight end screen when Kirk got hurt in that game.
Gosh.
Tight end screen. Come on, man. And then the second drive to the second to last drive, one of the plays was a tight end screen. And it was just awful. 3 plays behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes. But that's last year. This is this year. We got a game.
New game plan.
New game plan. It's hope selling season for at least the next 5 days. But
and you got to think KOC learned from his first year, his rookie year as well. And we hope he takes that next step. And not only play calling, but game management and the whole works. And 30 points a game, baby. That's the
Kevin O'Connell and Ed Ingram's career are in parallel.
Could be.
The rest of eternity. As goes Ed, so does Kevin O'Connell.
It all starts
with
Ed Ingram. I wanted to highlight Howard's point here. Whole booth proves me wrong. Yeah, I'm in the same boat, Howard. I've been saying pretty much since this summer when he got hurt again that at this point I expect nothing from him, and anything that we get out of him, any type of production at all, is what we call found money. Because the second you start putting, some expectations or hope into this guy, he's injured again. Again, I don't mean to sound disparaging towards him as a person. I'm just saying on the football field, I've just seen him get hurt too much, and he's got too much of a history. So I'm right there with you, Howard. I really do hope that 8-10 weeks from now, he's got 4 interceptions and he's, if not the starter, a big contributor. I really do. But I mean, do you guys disagree with any of that as far as Andrew Booth Jr. goes?
Well, I kind of look at it, I was pretty high at Andrew Booth Jr. I thought coming out of the draft, he was the 3rd best corner. And I thought about trading down and getting him in the 20s to actually get him in the 2nd round. I was like freaking excited. And it was injuries, is definitely injuries. And then, I cannot bemoan a guy for being injured and actually someone playing good and winning the job. So now he's behind somebody, and the only way he can get in is if that guy gets hurt or plays bad. And I just cannot, it's hard to even think about it. I'm like, okay, I feel like we got a guy that can develop and has shown his ability in college very well. He's good in the run game for sure. He had ball skills. He showed that in college. He bid on a double move this offseason. Now everybody just went to south on him. But who bid on a few double moves? Patrick Peterson, several times during the year, got in the first freaking play of the season.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson got busted on a double move worse than anything I ever seen. I think God Watson dropped it, but I'm not throwing him out with the bathwater. And all I feel like is we got a young guy that we can develop. And some people had him starting this year. ESPN put him as the number 1, number 2 corner behind Murphy on their depth chart at the beginning of the season. It's just that, again, it has a guy jumping ahead of him. And I like the fact that Evans and a Blackman are freaking stepping up and winning these jobs. Yeah. And I feel good about that. The same goes for Scene. We're deep. And the only reason we got a 4th-year safety, Metellus, ahead of him. Of course, he's showed he can play, so it's hard to jump a guy like Harrison Smith, Metellus, even Bynum, because they've already started in this league and proven themselves, and you haven't because of injury.
All righty. Well,
Mr. Pollyanna about the guys everybody hates. You'll find that out, Dave.
He's Pollyanna about everything, not just the guys everybody hates, but that's beside the point. Well, we've taken a lot of your time, and again, we all apologize for the technical difficulties, and then not one of us realizing that, hey, wait a second, there's nothing coming through right now. But shout out to every
say scheduled.
Yeah, why is it still scheduled 10 minutes later? I want to shout out everybody who joined us tonight. Thank you so much for the support. We always love when you guys do that. Special shout out to James, to Howard, and of course, Mama Shelsky. Hit those like buttons. If you don't already subscribe to Vikings First and Scold, please hit up the subscribe button on their YouTube and podcast feeds. If you don't already subscribe to Minnesota Sports Talk, hit up the subscribe button on Dave's channel. And if you don't already subscribe to Purple and Gold for Days, hit me up as well. Dave, final thoughts. What you got coming up the rest of this week?
Rest of this week, tomorrow night, we have the Real Forno Show at 6 p.m. Central, live with special guest Judd Zolgad.
Sports Dad
himself. He'll be on there. Thursday night at 6 p.m. we have a special. It's a secret, but we're going to be putting together all of our hosts, minus Darren, because Darren's still dealing with the fires up in Canada, and we're going to give you a season preview. And what's the show called there, Justin? You named it.
It is the Vikings First and Scold Preview Super Show. Why is it a super show? Well, unfortunately, as you said with Darren, the idea was to have Darren, Dave, Tyler, and myself doing a roundtable panel type situation. Unfortunately, Darren can't be there with us, but we're still going to call it a super show. And when Darren is available the next time that I'm on, we'll call it a super duper show. But in all seriousness, Thursday night, 6 p.m., come on and join us over there. Dave, I'm assuming if you're flying out tomorrow night, you're not going to be on the Skull Experience with the boys tomorrow, or are you going to do that? You're not?
I'm flying out tomorrow morning at 7:30, but yeah, I won't be on. But I think Johnny NFL's gonna be on with them, so he's gonna replace me.
Where are you flying out of?
Fort Lauderdale.
Ooh, that's a good flight.
Yeah, a little bit. Atlanta connection.
Okay.
We get there like 1:30. If Spirit stops moving it back a bit. And then a 4-hour drive to Brookings, South Dakota.
Yeah, have fun with that. Hopefully the weather will have cooled down enough, or you get a rental car that has some good AC. And again, for everybody who doesn't know, this will be the first year I'm doing it. I will be doing a pregame show at 11 a.m. Central Time on game day Sundays. Myself and Rap will be doing an 8 p.m. postgame wrap-up show every Sunday game day at 8 o'clock Central on both my channel and Purple Pocket Podcast. And over on Vikings First and Skull, what other show did we not mention here? Well, actually, what other 2 shows did we not mention here, Dave?
Well, on Saturday, we're going to have Darren back finally.
Yay!
He'll be back up in Yellowknife by that time, hopefully. And we're going to have 2 old bloggers, and we're going to do the traditional pregame where we dive deep into then we get a little stat nerdy, and we talk about the players and the matchups and everything else. Sunday, game day, we go live at the 2-minute warning with our newest show. Live at the 2-minute warning. Why? Because that's another one Justin named. So if you don't like it, blame Justin. But we go live at the 2-minute warning. It'll be myself, Tyler Fornes, Darren, and Justin, and possibly Vikings First and Skull Germany. That's in the works. Will be joining us on Sunday. Live at the 2-minute warning. You'll get to hear me go, and Kirk Cousins drops back. There he is. Justin Jefferson streaks down the sideline. Boom, look at that pass. Bang, touchdown Vikings. Boom.
We're a 3-score lead.
Yes.
Hey, Justin, got a question before we go.
Yeah.
When you name those shows, did you use predictive text when you name those shows?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. There'd be something wrong with the AI if that's all it spit out, if it was AI generated. Super show and 2-minute warning. But I'll say this, if you don't like the name of 2-minute warning, you will like the artwork on the thumbnails. He's already given me a sneak peek of that, and it is beyond beautiful. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Shout out to Dan Anderson in the building. What's going on? Good to see you. New name. So we got to, we shout out everybody, but if we see a new name in here, we always going to give a special shout out. So thank you, Dan. I know you got in at the end, but go ahead and hit that rewind button. And as always, everybody hit those like buttons on the way out, and then go to the other channel and hit the like buttons over there if you could, please.
And we're going to, me and Rap are going to go live here in about 13 minutes in Skull Live on.
I'll see everybody over
Purple
there.
and Skull Media. First and Skull, Purple and Gold for days. All these similar names. It's tough to keep them.
Well, Rap made a good point that, up to a couple of years ago, there was only about 4 or 5, and now there's
like 60.
Yeah,
there's like 60. Last year at the end of the season, I had counted 50 Viking podcasters that I was following. Crazy. Now there's 60 at least.
Well, when I started, there was like maybe 2, 1.
Right.
You were mailing people letters about the Vikings.
Well,
you had a mail list.
I don't know if you remember, one of the best sites that mailed newsletters was Kansas Vikings.
Oh, cool.
And they were awesome. But we're talking late 90s. So,
dude, I can't wait to have you on again. We'll talk more about stuff like that. That's more interesting than me than the depth chart. So, I appreciate it, man. Hey, everybody, thanks for listening. Make sure you go over to Skull Live on Purple and Skull Media. Watch me and Rap go at it. Let's go. Skull Vikings.